In the fractions, we have all those rules, and you have a list of the rules that I gave you in class. So all of this stuff that we're going over right now, you could probably do on your own. But if you needed that extra help, the last reteach before the final exam for the 6 weeks, then this is it. That's why this video is a little bit longer than the other ones. Okay, so find the sum of 1/6 and 3/4. In order for us to find the sum, we're going to have to find a common denominator. So let's get that going for us. Okay, so here's my numbers: 1/6 plus 3/4. In order for me to do that, both of these numbers have to have the same denominator. Now between 4 and 6, I'm going to show you all the way from the beginning how we used to do that back in 6th grade. Let's see, I don't have that one yet. Good. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to list my multiples of 4 and my multiples of 6, both denominators. So I'm going to skip count: 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, so on. Now I'm going to skip count by 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and so on. Okay, and to find the common denominator, all we have to look at is which number is common in both lists, which one is the smallest number, because we have a 12 right here and we have a 12 right there. It looks like that's the smallest number. We also have a 24 and a 24, but we don't care about the big numbers, we only care about the small numbers. So now we have found our LCD. Our least common denominator is 12. That's the number I'm going to use right here. Now how do I come up with 12 on the bottom? What do I have to do to the top? Well, that's the next part. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So you have to think to yourself, what happened from this 6 to make it a 12? Well, you have to multiply times 2, right? 6 times 2 is 12, so you have to multiply the 1 times 2 as well. And 1 times 2 is 2. So we just converted this fraction 1/6 to a fraction that has a denominator of 12, but it has equal value because we did the same thing to the top and the bottom. We're going to do the same thing to 3/4. 4 times 3 gives me 12. So multiply that by 3. That gave me the 12. And I have to do the same thing to the top. So 3 times 3 is 9. Now I can go ahead and add. 2 plus 9, 11. All I have to do is add my numerators, and the denominator must stay the same. So 11 over 12 is my final answer. And I cannot simplify this anymore because 11 is a prime number and I cannot simplify a prime number. So 11/12 is my final answer, and I'm going to write that down in my space right here, and I'm done. Now the difference is very similar, but notice that we have mixed numbers here. So let's talk about how we're going to do those mixed numbers. Let me get a clean page and make it fit. Okay, so here we go. The first number we have is 2 and 1/6, and we also have 1 and 3/4. Notice that when I made these problems, I kind of made it easy for all of us, where we have a 6 and a 4 again. So we already know what the common denominator is going to be. We know it's going to be 12. So we do need to change those to common denominators. And if you see, I just made a mistake. I put a plus sign here, and that shouldn't be a plus sign because now we're looking for the difference between those two numbers. So that means I have to subtract. Okay, so I'm going to have to subtract, and I need common denominators. Well, I knew this from before. 6 times 2 was 12, so 1 times 2 is 2, and 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. Now the big numbers, the whole numbers, you just copy them down, and now you're ready to subtract. 2 minus 9 is, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that. This is what I showed you whenever we were doing this subtraction of fractions. We have to regroup. This 2 and 2 12s has to be rewritten as 1 plus 1 plus 2 12s. Now the reason why I do this is to show you that this one whole right here, I want to rewrite it as 12 over 12. That way when I can add it to this fraction and I end up with 1, and what's 12 plus 2? 14 over 12. Notice that the denominator stays the same. You do not add the denominators. So this fraction right here, we regrouped it to where it looks like this, 1 and 14 over 12. And the reason why we want to do that is because now we can go ahead and subtract 1 and 14 twelfths minus 1 and 9 twelfths. Now I have a big number here, and I can take away 9 away. If I take 9 away, I end up with 5. The denominator stays the same, and 1 minus 1 is nothing, is 0. So my final answer is 5 twelfths. Okay, so remember what we did here. We regrouped it. That 2, I wrote it as 1 plus 1. And then I rewrote one of those 1s as 12 over 12 because that's a whole. And then I added the two fractions to get my mixed number so that I can go ahead and subtract correctly. So 5 and 5 twelfths is my answer. And I'm going to write it right here. 5 twelfths. Now we're going to find the product. And the product means we have to multiply. So we're going to have to multiply. Here we go. Multiply 5 as a whole number times a mixed number, 2 and 1/6. So let me write that on my paper. Okay, so my whole number is 5 times, because it says product, times 2 and 1/6. Now this is what we talked about in class when we talked to you about popcorn, Texas, and all around the world. In order for me to multiply this whole number and mixed number together, I have to do popcorn to the mixed number, or that Texas, or the all around the world, which looks something like that. You're still doing the same thing, right? So make sure you remember that. Now for this 5, all I have to do is put it over a 1, because 5 divided by 1 is 5. So that one's easy. But this one I have to multiply 6 times 2, which gives me 12. And then I have to add the numerator, which gives me one more. So 12 plus 1 is 13. And then I rewrite my improper fraction using the same denominator. So the denominator is 6, and we had 13 on the top. So now we multiply by 5 over 1, and all we have to do is multiply straight across. 5 times 13, and 1 times 6. Well, I know 1 times 6 is 6, and 5 times 13, I don't know, but I know that 5 times 3 is 15. I'm going to carry the 1, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus the one that we carried is 6. So we end up with an improper fraction, 65 divided by 6. To change that improper fraction to a mixed number so we can finalize our answer, we're going to have to divide. Remember, top in, bottom out. So 6 goes into 6 one time. That's a 6, remainder 0. Bring down my 5. And 6 goes into 5 0 times. So we're done. So my answer is 10. And because this 5 is my remainder, I use it as my numerator, and my 6 stays as my denominator. So my answer here is 10 and 5/6. That's my quotient, and a quotient. That's my product for this multiplication. Okay, 10 and 5/6. Okay, and finally, find the quotient of 4 1/2 and 3/5. Quotient means divide, right? So we're gonna have to divide right quick. And in order for us to divide fractions, we kind of have to do the same thing that we did with the multiplication. We're gonna have to use that popcorn, Texas, or all around the world to change that mixed number to an improper fraction before we can do anything with it. So that 4 1/2 we're going to have to change, and we're dividing it by 3/5. So let's see what happens here. We're going to have to change this by doing that popcorn, all that Texas. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So my answer is 9 over the same denominator, which is 2. And I'm going to divide that by 3/5. Now here's where we have to remember what to do. Remember, we have to copy the first one, we have to change that division to multiplication, and then we have to use the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay, that's an R right there. Now it looks weird. So anyways, make sure that you know what copy, change, reciprocal means. We're going to copy the first one, 9/2. We're going to change that division to multiplication. Then we're going to write the reciprocal of 3/5. Remember, the reciprocal is just the fraction flipped over. So it's 5/3. Now we go ahead and multiply. 9 times 5 gives me 45, and 2 times 3 gives me 6. Now, can I divide this? Can I simplify this? Well, I don't know, but I do know that this is an improper fraction, so I know I have to at least divide that 45, not 46, 45 by 6. 6 cannot go into 4, so there's my 0, but 6 goes into 45 7 times. 7 times 6 is 42, and when I subtract, I get 3 remaining. So my answer is 7 and 3/6. Now 3/6 can be simplified. Both top and bottom can be divided by 3, right? So my answer is going to be 7. The whole number doesn't get simplified, but 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So my final answer is 7 and 1/2. And that's what I'm going to put on my answer place. 7 and 1/2. Now number 15. This is where we do all the modeling with the number lines, with the counters, and all that good stuff. So it shouldn't be that hard if we can do it correctly. Okay, so here we go. The first thing I'm going to model is that -5. In order for me to model it, I need to know where 0 is. So I'm going to put 0 somewhere in the middle so I know exactly where I'm going. And that's a -5, so that means I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go 5 units to the left. So that's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Start at 0. I'm going to draw my first arrow to the left. And I'm going to label that with a -5. Now the next number, I have to add 3. So from this 5 where I left off, I'm going to have to go 3 units. And because this is a positive number, those 3 units have to move to the right. Okay, so I move 1, 2, 3, and I end up at -2. So that's my answer. My answer is -2. That's what goes right here. But this is the model. Don't forget to put the -5 on top of the first arrow and then the +3 on top of the second arrow. And you must tell me where the number line is and show me everything that I have shown for you right here. Okay, now the next number is modeling subtraction, where we have a -4 minus a -6. In order for me to do that, I'm going to have to do that copy, change, change in this case. Or wake up Smiley Man. You see a Smiley Man sitting right here? I see him. Hopefully you see him too. But if you don't see him and you don't remember what that is, don't worry about it. Just do copy, change, change. That's what the CCC stands for. So I'm going to copy the first one, is just -4, change that minus to a plus, and change that -6 to its opposite, which is +6. So now all I have to do is find 0. I'm going to do the same thing I did on the first number line. I'm going to label my number line correctly, and I'm going to start at 0 and go to the first number. The first number is -4, and that's 4 units to the left. So I've drawn my first arrow. From this location, I have to move 6 spaces now, and because that's a +6, I have to move 6 spaces to the right. So when I go back here, that's 4 spaces to 0. I have to move 2 spaces more to give me a total of +6. So my answer is where it's going to be wherever I ended up, and that's going to be +2. So my answer is +2. It's that easy.